Welcome to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, mum, FIFO wife, MBA, coffee lover, survivor superfan, and creator of the email experience. In Easy Email Marketing, you'll benefit from my nearly 20 years experience, where I'll be teaching you all the tips, tricks, and insider info on how to create feel-good, non-spammy experiences for your subscribers. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, and in today's episode, I'm sharing some different types of campaign emails that you might want to add into your mix. Specifically, the types of emails that are getting opened, clicked, and generating sales right now in 2025. Because things have definitely shifted over the past few years as I have been in business, and what people want and what people are doing with their emails is far different. Personally, I have noticed a big shift in the types of emails that have been getting engagement for me. For example, the podcast release emails just aren't so successful anymore with their opens and clicks, etc., and certainly something I am looking at rejigging. And even my bigger tip style roundup emails aren't as effective as they once were. And to me, it's not a huge surprise. Again, people catch on to trends, people start to see the same thing and want something different. So this is where we, want to change things. And you might even find a surprise in this episode where I do take a full 180-degree turn on what I have shared previously as best practice. I am always willing to admit when things change, so wait for that one in the third type of email that I am going to share. But it's just the way things work. So I wanted to give you a fresh update on what is working now for campaigns to hopefully inspire you to freshen things up a little bit and maybe bring new life to your email list. As with anything, the goal of this episode is not to have you take on all 5 different styles of emails. It's for you to choose what is the best fit for you, your business, what you like to write about, what your products are, etc. But to help you along, I have created an accompanying blog to this podcast episode, which I have given some examples of the emails inside so you can really see how this works practically and apply it to your business. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. The first style of email is the personal letter style. So I actually did a whole episode on this style of email back in episode 127, so not too long ago, and that was called Taking the News Out of Newsletters. So these emails are very first-person narrative, so they're from your perspective, and they have a more vulnerable tone of voice. They're all about sharing anecdotes, behind-the-scenes stories, or some insights and some thoughts. So they're kind of like open letters, confessionals, little manifestos. They're very conversational. They have, the keys to these are that they have very specific and personal details, that it's story-driven, that you do share a lesson, and it does connect to a challenge or a frustration or something that your audience can relate to. So think about emails that begin with like, I can't believe I'm typing this, but, or I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep, or I messed up big time. So they are very tidy letters that are from that first person perspective that are sharing some sort of insight, but still lead to a call to action. So they can still be used to share the story behind the launch of the program that you're about to share. Or it could be about a mistake you made with one of your products and how you're correcting it, or a new idea for a new design and the story behind it, or the origin story of your business. And you can see how then they can link to the actual offer, etc., that you are talking about. The next type of email or style is seasonal emotional content. So I've talked at length, especially in my content planning episodes and lessons and courses, that we want to align our emails with, the time of year. So different seasons, Christmas, Mother's Day, back to school, New Year's, etc. But the shift is kind of more towards the emotion behind those occasions. So it's not just, hey, it's Christmas, here's some present ideas. It's more about combining that personal letter style a little bit to this emotional content. So examples could be like your opinion on New Year's resolutions and habits, and maybe you share a different insight. Something like maybe for back to school, like to the mum crying in the school parking lot. For end of financial year, maybe it's okay, you're doing your numbers, but instead of freaking out about those, do we want to connect to the feelings and all the things you've done that the numbers don't reflect? Or maybe it's all about the pressure around Christmas and making it perfect. But really, sometimes the magic is in the mess. So you're going into the psychology of where people are at that time of year. So it sort of gives that counter narrative a little bit. So it goes against typical messaging. It gives people permission to allow them to feel how they feel. But we also transition again to specific ways to help and specific products, etc. And of course, this is all about timing. So it helps you stand out amongst the same. And again, I will provide a couple of examples inside the company blog so you can see this in action. Okay, the third style is the one that will surprise you, and that is a digest format. In other words, yes, a newsletter. Now, you have heard me harp on many a time back in the day about how we don't want to send newsletters anymore and how we want to have emails that have one focused call to action. Now, I am not saying you need to replace all of your one focus call to action emails with some sort of digest or newsletter, but there is a place for this type of email because there are some people who just want a wrap up of what is going on. And the beauty of this type of email is that you can ask people if they just want to get, a once a month wrap up of everything, or if they want like an update every single week, so you can give them some preferences, or it's something that you can mix in with your other ones. So I guess a way we can contrast this is if you were doing a sales promotion or a launch, obviously those types of emails will be very focused towards one call to action and they're tailored that. Whereas this style of email is kind of like a scattering of different things that are going on in your business and that just your audience is interested in. So they're short snippets of content, and the key here, which would distinguish this from what would have been considered a newsletter a long time ago, is that the content is short. So it is just a line or two or a few dot points. It's not, a few paragraphs about a certain thing. You would have, just a few content blocks, like 4 or 5. Each would have their own call to action if it's relevant. Not all of them need one. And it's really presented quite well visually, and there is a visual hierarchy. So you can scan it, like it has quite a scannable structure. It gives like actionable items. It mixes up different types of content, and it just gives this idea and presents this idea of you as an authority. So the types of blocks and sections that you could include in this is, a little bit of behind the scenes of what's going on in your business. It could be a trend report or some numbers. You could give like a really quick tip or fix or recipe. You could share a client win, like a little testimonial or a review. You could have a customer spotlight. So this could be, this customer, you shared this snapshot of them on Instagram, wearing our outfits. It could be a recommendation of a tool you use or some software or someone they should follow, or even a TV show or book. People love that type of thing. It could be linking through to a social post that has got a good conversation going on it, or it could be to a video or a reel you recorded. All of these little bits and pieces can add up to just this great piece of content. And of course, you can within that link to specific products. You could have a product of the month. You could mention the blogs or podcasts you've recorded over the month. You could have those ones weaved in as well, different offers, the different services, etc. So you will mix these in with calls to action, of course. So things like get the look or read the blog, check out this social post, reply, watch this video, different calls to action. So yes, having a digest style, really short and snappy, is something that I'm even going to give a crack. I've been intending to do for a little while, but it's something that I think is so, so useful, and definitely something that I'm seeing people more engage with, because as I said, some people want to just get that quick wrap up of information rather than constantly having to check in. And they also, want to perhaps have that preference that they can just choose this bit, and it's scannable. So as we said, it's nice and short pieces of content. Now for bonus points, for those of you who are like me, love a bit of conditional content, love a bit of segmenting, you can make this digest email personal. So that's where we can really use the modern tech and capabilities to really make this sing. So for example, if you have distinct categories of customers or clients in your audience, you could show different versions of different blocks to them. So things like you could present a different offer, a different course about what you know about them. Maybe you can share a testimonial or a quick win based around the type, again, their category that they're in, or if they are a new person or whether they have been on your list for a long time. We can really hyper-personalize some of this content. Okay. The next one, number 4, is still using that great educational how-to quick wins style content. The difference here is that we don't expect it to be really, really long. So I'm not talking, 10 steps or how-to guides, but here's a quick solution to this problem. So this is another one where you generally would go back to one main call to action. So you would say read more or learn more here, or here is this offer. So they work, these emails work because they provide value, but then we still are subtly referencing products or blog posts, etc. So some examples here are like, here's a 60-second morning routine, or 5 quick styling tricks, or 4 things you can do when you have a creative block, or 3 questions to ask to validate your business idea. Or if it's like a question your audience always asks, just giving them a quick answer to that FAQ. So we want to be really clear and specific here. We want to be using dot points. We want to keep it brief. Perhaps you mention mistakes, like you might add in the line, or here's where you might get stuck. And you can then link to specific resources and, most importantly, to a next step. And the final type of content style that you might want to try for your campaigns is user-generated content features. So this is going beyond just like a customer review or sharing a social media post. This is where you do a deep dive into one customer or client and share their story. So almost like a case study, but it is in a really succinct way. So a few examples could be 1 customer, 5 looks. So actual photos of someone wearing your outfit in different ways. Maybe before and after someone has used your products, or your products in the wild. Like, for example, maybe you go through someone's marathon training process, but you sell athletics gear. So within that, you share their story. It's something your audience is interested in, but you can say, this is what they wore on the day. Again, client success stories, but getting really specific with the numbers breakdown, what they changed, the timeline, what's next. Or maybe it's your course outline or your membership, but instead of just talking about here's module 1, here's module 2, or step 1, step 2, you go, here's one success story, and you break down that individual client's details. So this is where we want to use real names and specific details. Of course, if you did need to change the name, you could, but you do want to get as specific as possible with numbers. So having numbers and metrics in there is really, really powerful. Befores and afters. And also layer in some quotes. So layer in thoughts about a specific thing, like what they had to say about this. Get specific about the strategies used or the challenges they faced, and also what tools or resources they used, and perhaps even a timeline. So in this way, obviously, you can then directly link through to whatever products or whatever service that you provided. So it provides this social proof, but it also gives like this inspiration. And makes someone see how it's possible and practically apply what you're using. So this one actually probably will take a bit longer to prepare because you need to buy, invest time in someone, but I can see how valuable this would be, especially for your signature products. Okay, so there you have it. There are 5 different email campaign styles that you might want to give a go. The personal letter style, the seasonal emotional content, a digest, educational or how-to quick wins, and user-generated content features. Personally, doing this research and playing with this has definitely gotten me very excited to explore these options, and it is something I want to give a go, and definitely something I'm going to play with. So I may report back on results down the track, but hopefully you can see how these can really, really help your business. So there are 5 email content types that you can take away now. But of course, there's the caveat. Our content is only, that 20% of what makes email marketing really work. The other 80% happens below the surface. So things like your segmentation, like I was hinting at with that digest conditional content, with your deliverability, with the design of the emails, and with the strategy. So you can write great content, but, if they're going to the wrong people, if they're landing in spam, if they're just not addressing the main reason, then the ideas won't convert. So that is why I created Engaging Emails, and it is the focus of my Engaging Emails program, which does give you a complete system that helps make your content work. So while there are some great templates in there, it's not just about templates, but the foundations that most people miss. So if you want more details on that, check out Engaging Emails at yaokeone.com/engage. The link will be in the show notes. And I would love to show you what is happening beneath the surface. Otherwise, definitely make sure to check out the blog that goes along with this podcast episode to see examples at work. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you about what you've enjoyed from this episode or what you want to know more about in future episodes. Let me know over on Instagram. I'm at yaokeone, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Easy Email Marketing. It's an absolute honour that you chose to listen. If you love this episode, then it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can find this podcast and make their email marketing easy too. Finally, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Until next time, have an awesome day and make sure to keep showing up and serving in those inboxes.